Welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. I'm Bob Weeks. Well, last year the Wichita City Council allocated $1 million to a program to pay rebates to people who purchased water-efficient appliances such as toilets and washing machines. And when the program ended at the close of the year, we found that less than one-half the allocated money had been claimed. So, was that good news or bad news? Well, it was great news, because these water-saving appliances actually save very little water. For example, many people find with low water usage toilets that they must flush twice to accomplish their goal, or worse, they may have to rely to plunging and even more flushing. Now, even if the rebate program had succeeded, and by that I mean success on the city's terms, the amount of water saved is vanishingly small. Over the course of a year, the program could save about one-half of one day's average daily usage, and a single hot day in the summer could wipe out all the savings for an entire year. But things like this just don't seem to matter to the Wichita City Council. Last month, the Council decided, on a unanimous vote, to reauthorize the program using the $450,000 left over from last year. Now, the city argues that this program has no cost because these funds are left over from last year's program. And last year the city said the program had no cost because it was funded through water bills, not tax revenues. Well, but the city could have used the money not spent on rebates to either reduce water rates or retire water system debt. Yeah, that's government logic and reasoning. This year we find again that Wichita City Council members want to go down the road of austerity rather than abundance. And austerity is not fun. Life in Wichita is nicer and more attractive to residents and visitors when we are able to use a lot of water at a reasonable price. Under an austerity program, for example, our $3.5 million Waltzing Waters fountains sit idle. Lawns turn brown as people decide not to spend $300 to $500 a month to irrigate. Under a regime of austerity, Wichitans are urged by the city to do things like this advice that I found on the wichita.gov website. It said, wash your fruits and vegetables in a bowl of water instead of under running water. Take that water outside and water the trees in your yard. Well, I thought, since the purpose of washing vegetables is to cleanse them of herbicides and other chemicals, I deduced that after washing them in a bowl of water, you're left with a bowl full of herbicide-laced water, which I think is better suited for dumping on your driveway to kill the grass and weeds growing in the cracks. Well, the worst realization from analyzing this issue and others is how readily citizens, politicians, and bureaucrats will toss aside economic thinking. The anti-market bias that Brian Kaplan explains in his book, The Myth of the Rational Voter, Why Democracies Choose Bad Policies, was in full display, even by the conservative members of the council. For example, many speakers at last year's council meeting used the terms conservation and judicious. Well, I think conservation is good, and judicious use of water is good as well. But each person applies different meanings to these concepts. And a great thing about living in a relatively free economy is that each person gets to choose to spend their time and money on the things that are important to them and in the amounts they want. We make these choices every day, sometimes many times each day. Sometimes we're aware of making them and sometimes we're not. But these are decisions that we make, not government. But the city just doesn't get it. Instead of turning off streetlights during the day in downtown Wichita, the city scolds citizens for not unplugging clock radios and other appliances when not in use. And instead of letting each citizen decide how to use water, the city taxes us to pay for others to install low-flush toilets. Now, in most areas of life, people use the relative price of things to make decisions about how to allocate their consumption of scarce resources. And Wichita could be doing that with water, but it isn't. And what I mean by that is that the city is proposing to use money collected from a sales tax to pay for a new water supply. A better way to fund a new water source is through water bills. In this way, the people who use something are the ones who pay for it. The cost of something is more clearly associated with its use in this way. We will be aware of the true cost of water, and by having to pay the true price of a resource, businesses and people are better able to weigh the cost of using it versus alternatives. But the Wichita City Council advocates something different. Well, on a closing note, this is the 50th episode of Wichita Liberty TV. I hope we've come a long way since the first episode was broadcast June of last year, and I thank you for watching. And I also wish to thank the people who behind the scenes work to make this show possible. There's Tom Pappert, who produces the show, Devin Pierce, our technician, Michael Scott, our coordinator, Phil Ahrensman, the Assistant General Manager of the station, and Grant Sorensen, who is the Production Manager. And finally, Marion Pappert is our President and Executive Producer. So thank you to everyone. We're committed to doing a better job for you, the viewer, during our next year. So, that's Wichita Liberty TV for this week and also for its first year. Thank you for watching. I'm Bob Weeks.